We were discussing the law of contract. What was the last slides that? What is the last topic that we discussed?
It's consideration, sir.
Consideration. Okay, we have to start from there then, right? Okay. Can you see the slides presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Right. So then we'll start. We were discussing about a contract. Under the contract law that we said, all the contracts are not legally enforceable. Some contracts are not legally enforceable. Some contracts are legally enforceable. Legally enforceable means that when the contract is breached, the innocent party can go to courts and file action and can seek remedies, solution from courts. So to consider a contract as a legally enforceable contract, there are elements that to fulfill. We are discussing about 7 elements of a legally enforceable contract. Out of those 7 elements, we last week discussed several elements. Today we have to start from consideration or justa causa. Did we discuss this the slide last week, or we have to start from here?
We have discussed.
We discussed this one, this slide. And so principle of governing consideration also we discussed?
No.
No, right. We have to start from here then, right? Okay, thank you. So briefly, the consideration is the value paid by the both parties of the contract, both or all the parties. There is a concept of in contract law that every party has to contribute to the contract. That is a legal principle. So you may remember that under the in legal system of Sri Lanka, there are some contracts are governed by English law, some contracts are governed by Roman Dutch law. Basically, most of the contracts are governed by Roman Dutch law. Some of the contracts are governed by English law. So consideration is a requirement under English law, and justa causa is an element that relevant under Roman Dutch law, right? Then we discuss about the types of consideration. What we can categorize the consideration into several categories. One is good consideration, the other one is bad consideration, and we can categorize the consideration into another 2 categories, that is valuable consideration and nominal consideration. Valuable consideration means it has a real value of the contract. For example, we say now we are purchasing a vehicle. We say 5 million vehicle. So Nimal is selling a vehicle. Nimal is the seller. We say Kamal buying the vehicle. So Kamal pay the consideration, the value of the vehicle, real value. So that he pays 5 million rupees, the value. So what is the contribution of Nimal, who is selling the vehicle? So he is contributing to the contract by putting his vehicle as a value. And from the other side, other party, the Kamal, who is the buyer, he contributes to the contract by paying the value of the vehicle. He pay in cash. So that consideration is it has a value and it similar to the value of the vehicle. So such kind of consideration we categorize as a valuable consideration. Then the other category is nominal consideration. Nominal consideration is, in Sinhala we call it namika. So nominal means it's not the real value of the item or goods that we sell or purchase. It has only nominal value. For example, under English law, if our parents, if a parent gift a property to their children or child, the child has to contribute to the contract. That is a legal requirement. So therefore, he has to pay a value. So what we do, we put a value that is a nominal value. We put into the deed of gift. We say is a 1 rupee. Even 1 rupee is considered as a consideration, but it is not a valuable consideration. It's only a nominal consideration because it is not equal to the value of the goods or the land that we gift under the deeds. So therefore, these are the 4 types of consideration: good consideration, bad consideration, valuable consideration, and nominal consideration. Then we discussed about this case last week. So then I will go to the next slide. The principles governing consideration. That is the topic that we are discussing. We are starting today, right? What are the principles? What are the principles governing consideration? First principle is consideration need not to be adequate, but must have some value. That is the first thing that you have to remember. So nominal consideration means a consideration may have some value which is insignificant in relation to the transaction. The example that I gave you, parent gifting a property which worth millions, but the recipient child only contribute 1 rupee or maybe $1, which is insignificant when we consider the value of the real value of the land. So that is called nominal consideration. Then the consideration need not to be adequate, must have a real. It must be capable of being quantified. That is the second thing that we have to remember, right? It doesn't mean always the consideration must be adequate. Adequate means always it is not necessarily equal to the value of the goods that we purchase. We can purchase a good for a lesser value or even a higher value. That is depend on the bargaining power of the parties. For example, when we go to a shop, we see price is marked. We say 5,000. So then we bargain. We say it's too high. Can you come down? Then the shopkeeper may say, okay, 4,500. So then we agree, we purchase. So it is then we pay money, the consideration. We pay 4,500, not 5,000. So then the consideration that we paid is not equal to the value of the good, but lesser than that, right? So there are still this consideration that we paid 4,500 is considered as a good consideration. So because of the principle, the consideration need not to be adequate. It must be real. It has to be a real value. So 4,500 is a real value that we pay as a consideration, and it must be capable of being quantified. So that is the other thing that we have to remember. Consideration, we must be able to quantify. We must be give a value in rupees or in dollars. For example, love and affection under English law cannot be considered as a consideration because we can't quantify. How do you quantify the love and affection to your parents? Can you say my love for my parents or my father is 1 million rupees? Or can a father say that the value of my love towards my children is, say, 1 million or 2 million, likewise? So it is not capable of quantifying. So therefore, the love and affection is not considered as a consideration under English law. But in the other way, in the other hand, love and affection is considered as a justa causa under Roman Dutch law. So therefore, under Roman Dutch law, love and affection can be considered as a justa causa to create a contract, but it cannot be considered as a consideration under English law. So if you have any question with regard to consideration and justa causa, you can unmute your microphone and you can raise your question. So I'm ready to answer. So that is the first principle that you have to remember with regard to the consideration. Then the second principle that you have to remember is consideration must not be past. That is a second. Consideration must not be past. Right? What does it mean? It's like this. If you enter into a contract today, the consideration that you have to pay today or in future. For example, we take a simple example. We purchase a car from our friend, right? So what do? You get the vehicle and you pay the value. So consideration pay, the value pay at the time that we enter into the contract or in future. So if it is a credit transaction, we say, okay, I'll buy the vehicle today, but I will pay the value in 6 months time, in a future day. But past consideration cannot be considered as a valid consideration under the English law. What is past consideration mean? Past consideration means that something that we have paid previously. For example, we say now I have given a loan to a friend. 5 years ago, I have given a loan, 1 million loan to a friend. Right? Today, that I am going to purchase his vehicle. So then, can I use use my loan that I gave 5 years ago as a consideration to purchase the car? Is the question. So under English law, that cannot be considered as a consideration for this present contract because it has past consideration. It is a past consideration. So past consideration cannot be considered as a valuable or valid consideration for to enter into a contract under English law. So consideration given before contract is considered as a past consideration. Past consideration cannot be considered as a valid consideration under English law. So therefore, the contract is not valid if we have not passed the consideration at the time that we enter into the contract or after. So that is those are the principles that govern the consideration. Any questions that you have from this slide? If you have questions with regard to consideration and justa causa, you can ask the question now because this is a exam question, a repeating exam question that you have to compare the consideration under English law and the justa causa under Roman Dutch law. You have to compare. So to compare these, that you should be very conversant with the principle and the theory. Otherwise, you will not be able to compare and show the differences between consideration and justa causa. So you have any questions? Okay, so then I'll go to the next one. The next one that we are discussing is the next element of a legally enforceable contract is capacity to contract. Capacity to contract. In Sinhala, we call this givisum shaknutavaya. Givisum shaknutavaya. right? Shaknutave or hakiya, right? So capacity to contract. So remember this, right? The parties contract, when we enter into a contract, at least minimum we need two people, two parties, right? A contract can be entered between two or more parties. To consider a contract as a legally enforceable contract, all the parties who participated for the contract should have contractual capacity. So I'm repeating again, listen very carefully. To consider a contract as a legally enforceable contract. So there is a contract. To consider that as a legally enforceable contract, that means if it is breached, that you can go to courts. The parties who participated for the contract, all the parties who participated for the contract should have a capacity. Should have a capacity to enter into a contract. What do you mean by the capacity to enter into a contract? Right? When we say person, right, we have two types of persons. That is natural person and legal person. Natural person or legal person. Natural person, example, human being is a natural person. So we have Nimal, Kamal, or Bimal, Sirimal, anyone, right? A man or a woman, natural person. That's a one type of people. The other type of person under law is considered as a legal person. So example, a company, a partnership, right? So these are another type of persons that who can enter into a contract. For example, a company can enter into a contract with another company, right? So then company A, company B are the parties of the contract. They are considered as a person, a legal person, right? So if it is a natural person, forget about the legal person, then we are talking about the natural person, humans. A natural person, some people, they don't have the capacity to enter into a contract. They are natural people, natural men and women, but they don't have the capacity to enter the contract, right? Who are the people who does not have the capacity to enter into a contract, right? So generally, the principle is this, right? Generally, anybody over the age of 18 and mentally sound is capable of contracting. If a natural person, a man or a woman, if that person is over 18 years of age, 18 years in Sri Lanka, right, and mentally sound, that person, man or woman, is capable of contracting. So and can enter into a contract. That is the general principle. So that you have to remember these two, right? But some people, they don't have the capacity because they are not qualified to enter into a contract. Who are those, right? First is one, the minors, Bala Vayaskarva, minors. Who is considered as a minor in Sri Lanka? Minor is a person who is below the majority age. What is the majority age? Majority age is the 18 years. So anyone is less than 18 years of age is considered as a minor. So therefore, the minors, right? Minor does not have a capacity to enter into a contract. That doesn't mean that he can't enter into a contract. He can enter into a contract. Any minor can enter into a contract. But the question is that contract, whether that contract is enforceable in courts. That is the issue, right? You may remember. So we can have a lot of contract. The issue is some contracts you can't go to courts and get remedy. So if a minor enter into a contract, that contract is not a legally enforceable contract. some contracts against the minor also can enforceable. We will see what are those, right? Now, most contracts with the minor are voidable at minor's option, but not the other party. That is the first principle that you have to remember. Take this example, right? We say a minor enter into a contract. Minor means we say, we'll take a real example. We say Sirimal. Sirimal is 17 years and 11 months old, right? He looks like a elderly man, right? So he enter into a contract with another person. We say he purchased some goods from a shop for credit, right? And he promised to pay the value of the goods after 2 weeks, right? The other party, without the knowledge that he is entering into a contract with a minor, and he believes that the other party, the Silimal, is over 18, because he looks like over 18. He sold goods to this person a credit basis. So now after 2 weeks, if Sirimal refused to pay the value of the goods to the shopkeeper cannot take any action against Sirimal because he is a minor. There is a contract between Sirimal and the shopkeeper. There is a contract. The issue here is that contract cannot enforce against the minor because he does not have the capacity to enter into the contract. That we have to remember, right? And the most important thing is here, the minor, in his discretion, that he can terminate the contract. If he wish, that he can continue the contract also. That is the other important thing. For example, we say bankers, there are some bankers also in this class. So we think that a bank has given a credit card to a minor. So then what is the situation? So that credit card he used, but if he refuse to pay, then what will happen? So what we do? We go to courts and we say we given a credit card. There is a contract between the customer and the bank. The customer has defaulted or breached the contract, and we seek remedies from courts. And we say give an order to recover the dues from the customer. The customer comes and say, yes, there is agreement, but that agreement is not legally enforceable because I am a minor. So I don't have a capacity to enter into a contract. So what is the situation? Under the breach of contract, that we can't pursue the case because of this principle. At the same time, by minor, he has a discretion. If he wants, he can continue with the contract. That means he can use the credit card, or if he wants, he can cancel the contract. That means he can terminate the contract also. But other party has no discretion like that. So be careful. If you enter into a contract with a minor, that will be very dangerous. So therefore, always, bankers, always be sure that you are entering into a contract or you are granting a loan or advance money to a elderly person, that means over 18 years of person, not to a minor. How do you check that? You have to check the identity card and you have to satisfy that the person is over 18 years of age. That is the first thing that you have to remember. And some contracts are by statute unenforceable against the minor. That is the other thing that you have to remember. Example, Consumer Credit Act, number 1974 Consumer Credit Act. Under the Consumer Credit Act, this applies to the sales of goods, right? So under the Consumer Credit Act, if someone sell goods to a minor on credit basis, that seller can't enforce the contract against the minor. So the seller has to bear the loss, so he can't recover the money. So that is under the law, the minors, the contracts are unenforceable. Some contracts are unenforceable against a minor. Example this. Then, however, the contract for necessaries are binding on the minor. That is the other thing that you have to remember. So the principle, in principle, the minor can't enter into a contract. If a minor enter into a contract, that contract cannot be enforced against the minor. However, one exception, that is contract for necessaries. Contract for necessaries. If a minor enter into a contract with another person for necessaries, that contract is called contract for necessaries. So what are the examples of contract for necessaries? Take a situation like this, right? What are the necessary items that we need? What are the necessary items? We need food, we need clothes, we need medicine. If it is a minor, education also can be considered as a necessary items. So food, clothes, medicine, education, right? These can be considered with regard to a minor as a necessaries. So if a minor enter into a contract with another person for food, so example, a minor goes to a shop and he purchases, or he on credit basis he take food or medicine or clothes, right? Such a contract is considered as a contract for necessaries. If the minor breach the contract, that means if he refuse to pay, then the seller can go to courts and file action under breach of contract and say that minor enter into a contract and the contract is contract for necessaries. So therefore, the minor is bound by the contract. So therefore, I can recover the money. So the money should be recovered from the minor. So that is possible if the contract is for necessaries. On the other hand, if we sell something is not necessary, like we say liquor, right? On contract basis, that a shopkeeper, wine store shopkeeper sold is a black label whiskey to a minor over 18 years of age on credit basis, and he doesn't pay. The question is whether there is a contract. The answer is there is a contract, right? Selling and buying and selling contract is there. So seller and the buyer. Whether the contract is legally enforceable is the next question. So parties in the contract, one party is a minor, so therefore he doesn't have a capacity to enter into a contract. The contract cannot be enforced against the minor unless it is a contract for necessaries. The second point. Now, what are the goods involved in this contract? The goods involved in the contract is liquor. So the wine stores man has sold liquor to the minor. Can we consider the liquor as a necessary item or necessary for a minor? So I don't think that court will accept the liquor as a necessary item for a minor child. So therefore, that contract is not a contract for necessaries. So therefore, there is a contract. The contract is with a minor. The contract is not for necessaries. So therefore, it cannot be enforced against the minor. So the shopkeeper cannot recover the price of the liquor from the minor. So he has to bear the loss. He has to bear the loss. There is a case that you have to remember this case, right? So when I say you have to remember, it is essential. It's a must that you have to write these cases in your exam answer paper also. Then you get marks, additional marks actually, for cases that you write, right? So case is Nash versus Inman, 1908. 1908. This is a case decided in England. What happened in this matter? The claimant, that is the person who went to courts, the claimant was a tailor. He was a tailor, right? And the defendant was a minor undergraduate at Trinity College, Cambridge. So there are two parties in the contract. One party is a tailor, the other party is a student, undergraduate, and also minor, below 18 years of age, right? So they enter into a contract. What is the contract? The claimant sued the minor was for the price of various items of clothing, including 11 fancy waistcoats. So what has happened here? This student, he has purchased various type of clothes, including 11 waistcoats, suits, right? Now there is a contract between a elderly person and a minor. You remember, if it is a contract with a minor, only contract for necessaries can be enforced against the minor. Now this minor has entered into a contract with the tailor to purchase clothes. Now you remember, what are the necessary items that we consider? The items that we considered as necessaries. One is food, medicine, clothes, and also education items, right? So cloth is a necessary item. So what he has brought here is different type of clothes and also 11 waistcoats, 11 suits. One student has purchased on credit 11 waistcoats. So, but he didn't pay the value. So he took it, then he didn't pay, then the tailor went to courts. The question before courts now, whether this is a contract for necessary. That was the argument of the minor. He said, yes, I have a contract with this person. I entered entered to a contract with the tailor. I got these clothes on credit basis. That is also correct, but he can't ask the price of the clothes because I am a minor. This is a contract entered with a minor. So therefore, I don't have a capacity to enter into a contract. Contract is null and void. So no relief can ask under this contract. So that was his argument. So what happened? The court looked into this matter in a different way. There was a different approach, right? What happened, that his argument was that, and the claimant's action failed because he was not established that the clothes supplied were necessary. So what happened here? The clothes supplied by the tailor, it's just not clothes that you just want to wear. So some of those are necessaries, but the 11 clause, when you purchase 11 coats, suits by one person, how do you say that clothes were necessaries? If it is a 1 or 2 suits, of course, then the court can say yes, it is a necessary item for a student. But when you purchase 11 number of suits from one person, that court said it is not an item that cannot be considered, even though the clothes are necessary items. 11 number of suits cannot be considered as a necessary. So therefore, the minor is obliged to pay because under the contract of necessaries. So that was a decision. So anyone, if you have any questions with regard to capacity of contract, with regard to a minor's capacity to contract, that you can ask now. Or you can note down your question. Then at the end of the session, that I will give you time to answer, to present your question. Then, if you have any question, you can ask now. Right. Okay. If you don't have question, then I go to the other category. That is the incapable of entering into a contract. The other category, the mentally disordered and drunken person. The other type is this. First type is minor. Second type, mentally disordered and drunken person. Right? Now, when we say mentally disordered, there are two types of mentally disordered people. Right? Some of the mentally disordered person, they are permanently mentally disordered. Permanently. So they can't be cured. Right? So therefore, if they enter into a contract, permanently mentally disordered person, if that person enter into a contract with another person, that contract cannot be considered as a valid contract or enforceable contract. But there are other types of mentally disordered person, right? They are not permanently mentally disordered, but they are temporarily mentally disordered. So that, what does it mean? It means for a period of time that they have this illness, mentally disordered, mentally not sound. But after they take medicines, they are okay. They can understand what they are doing. Mentally, they are okay. So that is temporary mentally disorder. And the drunken people, or people under influence of liquor, intoxicated people. So that is also a status, a mental state, temporary thing, right? So the influence of the liquor will be vanish after a period, after a few hours. So then the person become normal, right? The question is, if a person enter into a contract with another person, if that person is drunken or under influence of liquor at the time of he enter into the contract, the contract is not legally enforceable against that person. That is important thing that you have to remember. If a person was drunk at the time that he entered into the contract, so that contract is not enforcing because he doesn't need to enter into the contract. A drunken person, right? What is level drunk? Level of influence of liquor, you need to avoid the contract. So, you know, different people get influenced by liquor. Different. Some people can drink half a bottle, right? You can drink one bottle. But some people, one glass of liquor, they are out, right? You know what they are doing. So, capacity, how drunk, and you don't know what you are doing, capable of understanding because of and liquor. So that contributing to during this period is not enforced, not legally enforced. So the contract are not done such person unless specifically ratify contract during the lucid period. And other thing that you remember is not enforceable against that person. But there is an exception. What is the exception? Right? They can ratify and confirm the contract, or when they are, for example, we get a person enter into that person drunk at the time that he entered. He was drunk. He has no idea that even he has entered into a contract. That much he's drunk. Yes, you have a question?
Sir, your voice is not clear.
Please unmute your microphone unless you have a question, because yes.
Sir, your voice is not clear.
Anyone has a question?
Sir, your voice is not clear.
Please unmute your phone. Monitor is not clear.
No, sir, your voice is not clear.
Yeah, you can't see the slides. Can't you see the slides? Voice is not clear. Can you hear now? Can you hear now?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Then we'll continue. So then, drunken people. Then I said, drunken people can. Drunken people. They can ratify their contract. They can ratify their contract after they are in good situation, after the influence of the liquor. That is called ratification. If it is ratified by the person, the contract is legally enforceable. For example, a minor also can enter into a contract. The minor can ratify the contract or confirm the contract after he attend the age of majority. For example, we'll take a real example. We say a banker grant a credit facility, or rather we say credit card, to a minor. So he was 17 years of age at the time he entered into the credit card agreement. But after he attending age of 18, that means now he's no more a minor, he's a man now, adult, right? He now continue to use the the credit card. He continues. So then that is a ratification of the contract. So he confirmed the contract. So then he is bound by the contract. So same thing apply here. A mentally unsound person or drunken person can ratify the contract afterwards. If it is ratified by him during his lucid period, clear period, the contract is legally enforceable, right? So those are the two persons that who has no capacity to enter into the contract. So remember the minors and mentally disordered and drunken persons. Then we are talking about the legality of the contract. The next element is the legality of the contract, right? Now think, what do you mean by legality of the contract? Now we say parties enter into a contract, offer and acceptance, that is an agreement, that consideration, justa causa, capacity, everything is there. But the contract, the purpose of the contract, if the purpose of the contract is illegal, then the contract is not valid. Contract is not valid, right? Now, for example, we say a question, example like this, right? A person A, right? We say Nimal enter into a contract with Kamal, right? Nimal gives a contract to Kamal to kill Bimal, right? So they have a contract. Nimal and Kamal enter into a contract. Nimal pay 1 million to Kamal, then Kamal has to kill Bimal. So that is their contract, right? Their contract. We say now Nimal paid an advance to Kamal. Kamal accepted the advance and said, within 2 weeks' time, I will kill Bimal, right? So then he took 500,000, and after 2 weeks also that there's nothing happened. Nothing happened. So basically, Kamal has not killed Bimal. So therefore, now Nimal wants to get a relief from courts. Relief from courts, right? He says that I have a contract with Kamal. I paid advance also. Consideration is there, right? Now, Kamal has not performed his duties under the contract. So therefore, I want a relief. Can he go to courts? Can Nimal go to courts and enforce this contract in court of law? Is the question. Is the question. The answer is no, it cannot be enforced in the court because it is legally unenforceable. The reason is the purpose of the contract that Nimal and Kamal entered is legally not valid or illegal purpose. Illegal purpose. So therefore, that contract cannot be enforced. Now that is a simple example that I gave you to understand what is legality. But when it comes to real business world, cases are complicated. Now, for example, we say we will take a commercial transaction. We say a Sri Lankan buyer wants to enter into a contract with a Pakistan party seller to purchase medicine. So that means that the Sri Lankan party send money, then the Pakistan seller has to send medicine to Sri Lanka. Medicine to Sri Lanka. Excuse me. Sound. Can everyone see me and can everyone hear me? Please respond. Can everyone
Yes,
see
sir.
me and can everyone hear me?
We can hear you and we can see you, sir.
Right. You can see the also slides, and also slides
Yes,
also
sir.
you can clearly see, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Slides also.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Right. Okay, right. Okay, that is we were discussing about the legality. Legality is the purpose of the contract, right? When we say now the Sri Lankan party into a contract with Pakistan guy or Pakistan seller. So Sri Lankan party send money. The Pakistan party has to medicine, right? We say now the Sri Lankan party enter into the contract. They send the money under the contract, the value of the medicine, but the Pakistan party didn't send the medicine that they promised to send. So we say if that medicine is medicine in Sri Lanka, legal medicine in Sri Lanka.
So your voice is like
in Sri
you
Lanka
can't hear.
can go to court and can file an action, breach of contract, and sue the seller and recover the money. It's a breach of contract.
Sir, your voice is not clear.
Can you hear now?
Excuse me, sir. So your voice is like you. Sir?
Can
No,
you,
sir. Your voice is getting
can you
like.
hear now?
Can't.
Now there's a technical problem here. We try to
After some
rectify
time
it
we
now.
can't hear some words.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you, sir. After sometimes it get lagged. Your voice.
Is that so? You want me to speak louder? Is that? When I speak louder, can you hear me now?
No, sir. Sometimes your voice is breaking down.
Can you hear me now? Okay, right. So if you have a problem, then just tell me. Now, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everyone,
Yes.
can you hear me now? Right, okay. Right, we'll manage somehow. Okay, thank you. You unmute your, mute your microphones. Comes. We'll try to correct it as possible, right? So now we were discussing about the example that Sri Lankan party entered into a contract with the Pakistan party. Right now we think a situation. First situation, the medicine in Sri Lanka. So therefore, Sri Lankan party, if the contract is breached, can go to courts and get remedy. And we'll take the other another example. We say the medicine that agreed to send to Sri Lanka by the Pakistan party is illegal medicine in Sri Lanka. It's illegal, right? So in a situation like that, what will happen? The contract, the purpose of the contract is illegal, become illegal, because the party A enter into a contract to send a medicine which is not legally acceptable in Sri Lanka, illegal product. So therefore, what will happen if the contract is breached? The party, innocent party, can't go to courts and enforce such contract because the purpose of the contract is illegal. So legality means that the purpose of the contract has to be a legal purpose. If the purpose of the contract is illegal, any party cannot go to courts and ask for any remedy. That is legality. Fifth element. Now we are going to discuss the sixth element of legally enforceable contract. That is true consent. True consent. In Sinhala, we call this Sabe Anumatiya. True consent. Sabe Anumatiya. Right? So parties who participate to the contract should give their true consent. Or in other words, should give their contract voluntarily without any influence. That is the principle behind this, right? So true consent is a necessary element of a legally enforceable contract, right? There are two things that that can challenge the true consent of a party. That is, first one is undue influence. Undue influence. The other one is duress or threat or pressure. Undue influence and duress. Undue influence in Sinhala we call it I04 balapama. Undue influence. Duress in Sinhala we call it tarjanaya. So these two, if there is undue influence or if there is a duress, at the time we enter, at the time we give our consent to the contract is void or not valid, right? Example, we'll take a simple example to understand what is undue influence and duress, right? It's like this. Undue influence means one party can influence other party to enter into a contract or to contract against his true consent. It depends on the relationship between the parties. Now, for example, we say that your employee or your boss, you say your boss, right? You are employed and your boss says, right? So you have a car, you want to sell the car, right? Your price is, we say 5 million. Your car, you price at 5 million and you want to sell the car and you put an advertisement. Now your boss sees this advertisement, right? You are under him, right? You have a relationship with him now, right? We say he's the employer and you are the employee, employer-employee relationship. Now he says, right? Look here, that I saw your advertisement and you have put 5 million. I will offer you 4.5 million. 4.5 million. My price is that. If you like, I will buy. That is his offer. That is his offer. But with regard, now what will be the situation, right? Because of the relationship that you have with him, your boss, sometimes even though you are not ready to accept 4.5 million as a price for your vehicle, because of the relationship and because he has more bargaining power, that you may agree to accept 4.5 million or may agree to sell your vehicle for 4.5 million to your boss. Now here he didn't threat you. He didn't say anything, any word, but still, because of the relationship that you have with him, that you compelled to enter into a contract against your conscience or against your will. So your idea to sell the vehicle at 5 million. But because your boss made the offer, you can't say no to him. Right? There is an influence. Right? That is an influence. Undue influence means if that person put influence to change your mind and compel you to enter into a contract, that is called undue influence. Now we have given a real case here. Undue influence under the persuasions or advice of one party to the other party to enter into the contract. So one party pursue the other party or advise the other party to enter into the contract. Right? It is not a threat. It is not a threat. You don't say that if you don't enter into the contract, I will kill you. So that is a threat. That is coming under duress. But undue influence is not something like that. But one party has a more bargaining power or more power in the relationship. So therefore, he can advise the other party to enter into a contract in favor of him. Right? So the benefit of the contract go to him. So that is called undue influence. That the case is given, a real case is given here. The case is Bank of Credit and Commerce versus Aboudi, decided in 1989. So the case, what happened here? The evidence shows the husband used to abuse language and threaten the wife to sign the mortgage, which held jointly with wife. So what happened? This husband, he applied for a loan from a bank, and the bank asked for collateral or security. So then what happened? They had a joint property. They, in the sense, the husband and wife, they had a joint property. And he took the wife to the bank, and he used abuse words and asked her to sign the mortgage. What was happened? Then the wife went to courts, and wife went to courts and said, the contract that I signed, contract is a mortgage bond that I signed. She said it's not valid. The reason is, I didn't give my true consent to the mortgage. Even though I signed the mortgage, my true consent was not there. Because there was undue influence. Who influenced you? My husband influenced me. How? By using abusing word. Right? There is a relationship, husband and wife relationship. Under the relationship, husband has the more authority or more power, which he can influence the other party to enter into the contract. So what he did, he advised his wife to sign, or in other words, he threatened the wife to sign. So therefore, it was decided the wife's consent was not genuine. So therefore, the contract is not enforceable. So remember, when we are working in a bank, or even a financial institution, we lend money and we ask people to bring securities, collaterals, guarantee bonds, or even mortgage. Right? In a situation like that, if a mortgagor is a third party, remember that person's true consent must be there for the contract, or to the mortgage, or to the guarantee bond. If that person has not given the true consent, if he is under the influence or under undue influence, then one day that he can challenge the contract and he can released from the security. He can get released the security. So therefore, you have to be careful that the true consent is necessary for a legally valid contract. Then the second element, point that vitiate the true consent is duress or threat. Duress or threat. So that is there's a difference between undue influence and duress. In undue influence, you don't use a threat. You don't threat the other person, right? But in duress, one party threat the other party to enter into the contract, right? Threat, balahatkara, threat. When we say threat, what kind of action can be considered as a threat under the law, right? Now, for example, we say a situation like this, right? Someone comes and say, right? Say I have a vehicle, right? Someone comes and say, if you don't sign these papers, right? That is to transfer my vehicle to under his name. He wants to get my signature by force. He says, if you don't sign this paper, I will kill, we say, I will kill Nimal. He said, right? We say, I don't have any friend or anyone who's called Nimal. I don't know who is Nimal. Right? There's no relation, no friend, no one called Nimal that I know. Now what is the situation? There is a threat. That threat is not to me or to my close relation or to my close friend or not to my property. Right? In a situation like that, that cannot be considered as a duress. So if I sign the papers, then I can't say that I was under duress, therefore that because of that only I signed. So therefore the contract that I can't say invalid. But if someone comes and say, right, if you don't sign these papers, I will kill you. Now what is the situation? What is the difference now? The earlier occasion, there was a threat. There was a threat, threatened words used, but threat was not to me, not to my property, or not to a relative or relation, a close relation of mine. So therefore, it cannot be considered as a duress. Now the second situation, what has happened? There is a threat. There is a word. There are words that threaten words used. The words used, the threat used against me, myself, my body. They are going to kill me unless I sign the papers. So there is a threat, clear threat to me. So then that can be considered. If I sign these papers, what will happen? I can go to courts and say that, yes, I signed the agreement, but I signed the agreement under duress. So therefore, the contract is not valid. So court will accept that as a duress because the threat is to myself. So remember, children, that you have to remember this. If it is a threat, that threat should be to the person or to his property or to his close relation or close friends. To consider that threat as a duress. Otherwise, even though the threat is there, it is not duress, the contract is then valid. So these two things that you have to remember with regard to the true consent. If I summarize this, the parties enter into the contract should give their true consent to the contract. If the true consent is not there, the contract is not valid. There are two situations that the true consent can be vitiate or cancelled. What are those two situations? One is undue influence, the other one is duress. If undue influence is there, or if there is a duress, the contract is not enforceable in court of law. That is the sixth element that we discuss. We'll go to the next one. That is the seventh element, the last element of a legally enforceable contract. That is form or formation. Form or formation. What does it mean? What do you mean by form or formation? Form or formation means under the law, there are some contracts that law describe that if you enter into a contract like this, that there is a procedure that you have to follow. If you don't follow the procedure, the given procedure as or described procedure under the law, the contract is not valid. Contract is not valid. Right? That is called formation. Right. Formation, now we'll take some example, real day-to-day examples, and then I will explain to you what it is. Right? You think a situation that you go to a supermarket and you buy something, right? You buy, we say you buy a packet of sugar, right? What do? You go to the supermarket, you go to the racks, and you take a packet of sugar, and you bring the sugar packet to the cashier, and you make the offer. The cashier accepts it, and then you pay the consideration, the value, right? And then he or she deliver the goods. Contract forms, right? Contract forms. So your consent is there, their consent is there, true consent is there, no influence, nothing, no threat, right? Everything, all other 6 elements are there. A simple transaction. You go to a shop, you buy something. Now think, every day we do this. So knowingly or without knowledge, we are entering into a contract. The question is, whether you enter into, when you go to shop and buy something, do you sign an agreement or rather contract? Now, for example, say now you want to buy a packet of sugar or milk packet, right? Then a milk powder that you go to when you go to supermarket, do you prepare an agreement and you go to the supermarket, you pick the milk powder and then you sign the agreement with the supermarket? Nothing like that. Nothing like that. You just go, you pick the item, you pay the value and bring. Is there a contract? Yes, there is a contract. That's a contract. That is a verbal contract. That is a verbal contract. Is it valid? Is it enforceable under the law? Yes, it is enforceable under the law, because as per the sales of good ordinance, that when you are purchasing a commodity or item or goods, you don't want to sign an agreement. You don't have to sign an agreement before a lawyer. So the procedure is very simple, that you just can enter into a verbal contract. Verbal contract. Now think another situation. Think another situation. We say now you want to purchase a land. You want to buy a land, right? Think about the situation. If you have purchased a land, you may know, right? Or otherwise, think that you are going to buy a land. What do? Right? Do you just go there and you see the land and you give the money and he give the land to you? This is not the case. So land transfer or land purchase is governed under a different law, right? So as per the land law, what you have to do is, when you are purchasing a land, you have to follow a procedure. You have to follow a procedure. What is the procedure that you have to follow? Right? You have to sign a deed. For a purchase of land, you just can't pay the value and get a receipt. Receipt is not enough. It is not valid. You have to sign a deed. Sign a deed. You have to go to a lawyer or notary, and the parties has to sign the deed, and the deed has to register in the land registry. So then the land transaction complete. So selling of a land is described under the law what is the procedure that you have to follow. Unless you follow that procedure, the transaction is not valid. Now, for example, we say you have money, you go to see a land and you talk to the owner of the land and you pay the money, the price of the land, right? And you get a receipt. You get a receipt, right? Like you purchasing something, right? A commodity, right? Here also, what you do, you go and you see the land, you pay the value and get a receipt. After a few days, that the party, the seller or the owner, sell the property to another person. He got your money, he gave you a receipt, but again now he has, after a few days, he has sold the property to another person. That person has signed a deed before a lawyer. Now the question is whether your transaction is valid or whether the other person's transaction is valid. Answer is your transaction is not valid under the law because your contract is not formed. Why we say it is not formed? Because the law prescribes how to purchase a land. What is the procedure that you have to follow at the time you are purchasing a land? So it says that the parties has to execute a deed. So here what has happened, you have not executed a deed, you have only got a receipt. The other party has followed the procedure and has executed the deed and they have registered the deed also. So under their name they have a deed. You don't have. So then the answer is your transaction, your purchase is not valid, even though you have purchased the land before the other party. Your transaction is not valid. Your transaction is not valid because your transaction, you have not executed the deed and you have not registered. The other side, they have executed the deed and they have registered, so they get the priority, or their contract is valid, your contract is not valid. Then the second example that I give given here, purchase of vehicle. When you purchase a vehicle, what do? You may know that you sign papers, MT6 paper, whatever that the papers, set of papers given by the RMV. Then you fill that and then you have to register the vehicle under your name. Then the RMV, Registers of Motor Vehicles, will issue a certificate, vehicle registration certificate, known as CR book, right? The vehicle registration certificate under your name. If your name is inserted as the owner of the property, then only you become the owner. Otherwise, just paying money and getting a receipt is not sufficient, right? So those are the examples that I can give you with regard to form or formation. Those are the 7 elements that is necessary for a legally enforceable contract. So you must be very thorough with these 7 elements, right? So you must be able to understand and compare these elements, all 7 elements at the exam. If you have any questions out of these 7 elements, now you can ask. Okay, if you don't have any questions, do you have any questions? Right. Okay, if I summarize this, in the parties can enter into a contract. All the contracts entered between parties are not legally enforceable, right? If a contract to become a legally enforceable contract, there are 7 elements. Those 7 elements has to be fulfilled. What are those 7 elements? Those are, first one, the agreement. Agreement means the offer and acceptance. Then the second element is intention. Parties should have the intention to enter into a legal relationship. That is the second element. Third element is consideration or justa causa. Consideration under English law. Both parties has to contribute to the contract by paying a value. Under Roman Dutch law, justa causa means both parties should have a valid reason to enter into a contract. Then the next one is contractual capacity. Contractual capacity means some people do not have the capacity to enter into a contract. Example, minors, mentally disordered people, and drunken people. They can enter into a contract, but their contract is not enforceable against them unless they ratify the contract after. Then the next one is legality of a contract. Legality of a contract means the purpose of the contract has to be a legal purpose. If you enter into a contract for illegal purpose, that contract is not enforceable in courts. Next one, the true consent that we discussed, the sixth element. True consent means parties should give their consent to the contract. Every party of the contract has to give their consent to the contract voluntarily, right, without any undue influence or duress. Then the last one, we discuss the last element, form or formation. Form or formation. What do you mean by form or formation? The law has described certain contracts to follow a certain procedure. Example, if you purchase a land, that you have to execute a deed. If you purchase a vehicle, that you have to file, you have to sign papers, MT6 papers, and you have to register that in RMV. So otherwise, the contract is not valid. That is called formation. So those are the elements, and we are now has finished the first part of contract law. If you have any question that you can ask, or we can go to the next topic. Okay, can everyone see the second set of slides? Can you see the slides? Can you please respond? Can you see the slides? Second presentation. Factors of mediating contract.
No, sir.
No, sir.
You can't see the right. Give me give me 5 minutes break. Then I will fix this. We'll have 5 minutes break.
මේක ඉවරයිද සර්?
මේක තමයි කරන්න තියෙන්නේ.
මේක අවශ්‍ය නැහැ සර්.
ඕක තමයි උනේ.
මේක දෝන එක.
ඕකේ තමයි.
හරිද සර්? මේක දැන් ෆෝටෝ එක කරන්න. මේක පේන්නේ නැහැ කියලා කිව්වා. මේ සමහර සාධ්‍ය අඩු වෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ. එතන මේක තමයි මයික් එක තියෙන්නේ. අපිට
Okay, shall we start then? Can you see the slides now? Can you see the presentation? Can someone respond, please?
Yes, sir.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, then we'll start. Right. Next, we are going to discuss, right, about the second part of the contract law. That is, we say now earlier we discussed that there are 7 elements. That if those 7 elements are there, the contract is legally enforceable. But apart from that, right, remember that there are some elements or some situations which can cancel the contract or vitiate the contract, right? There is a contract, there is 7 elements also there, but it's on the face of it, there is a valid contract, but because of certain reason, because of some certain reasons or some facts, the contract is not valid or vitiate or cancelled. So what are those situations that we are going to discuss? The sum of those situations are, first one is mistake, second is a misrepresentation, third is undue influence. If any of these thing has happened, the contract is not then valid or not enforceable. First one is a mistake. In Sinhala we call it varadima. Second one, misrepresentation, we call in Sinhala avanideshanaya. Third one, undue influence. I04 balapayama. Those are the three situations that we are going to discuss. We'll take the first one, that is mistake. Mistake, right? So I have given here in red color the general principle. What is the general principle? Generally, the mistake does not affect the validity of the contract. That you have to remember. Generally, what happened, right? When parties enter into a contract, there can be a mistake. There can be a mistake of a party. So just because there is a mistake, the contract that we can't say illegal or not enforceable or cancelled. So general rule is it is legally valid. Legally valid. Example, I have given here an example. A buyer, A buys a dress for 10,000 when it was only worth 5,000. For example, we say, right, a shopkeeper has put a frock to sell, a dress, and he has marked the price as 10,000. Actually, this cloth or dress is worth only 5,000, right? But we sees this frock or the dress, and she purchased the dress for 10,000 rupees. Now that's a contract. A and B entered into a contract, sale and purchase contract, right? Consideration paid, true consent there, everything is there. Now we got the dress put into a bag, and now she is walking on the street, and she sees in the next door shop the same dress hangs there, and the price is marked as 5,000. 5,000. Now really, now the same dress, if it is the same dress, the same material, right? The real price of the cloth is 5,000. But mistakenly, we believe that it worth not 5,000, 10,000. That's why she bought it from the previous seller. Now there is a clear mistake of price. The question is whether we can say that the price of the cloth is only 5,000. There was a mistake, so therefore I want to cancel the contract. The question is, or the answer is rather, is contract is valid. Why? The general principle is mistake does not affect the validity of the contract. That's the general principle. But remember, when we say general principle is that there is always exception. There is always exception, right? Then that is I have given here in the second red color line. However, a mistake can make a contract void due to its nature. Second thing that you have, exception that you have to remember, generally mistake will not cancel the contract. However, that's exception, depending on the nature of the mistake, the contract can be cancelled, right? The case I have given here is Carl's versus Cumberland Banking Company versus Brett. That matter, the Brett signed a guarantee bond thinking that he was signing a proposal for insurance. So what happened here? This person, he went to get a loan, then bank asked for a guarantee, and then the borrower brought a guarantor, one of his friend. He took to the bank, right? And he was informed that we are going to get an insurance policy, so you have to sign the insurance policy. That's all that he was informed. So the guarantor thought that he is signing an insurance policy, insurance proposal, right? So he signed. Now actually he has entered into a guarantee bond. He was mistaken. He was mistakenly thought that he was informed by the bank and the borrower that he is signing a insurance policy. So what happened here? The bank was not. It was held that the bank was not liable as he did not have any intention to undertake liability as a guarantor, and it was a mistake. The signing of the document was a mistake. So nature of the mistake made by the party, if it is a nature that can cancel the mortgage, rather the contract, depending on the nature, the contract be cancelled. So what you have to remember here is mistake is a situation that a contract can be cancelled. But the general principle is if there is a mistake, still the contract is valid. But there is an exception for that. The exception is depending on the nature of the mistake, the contract can be cancelled. So you have to see case by case what type of mistake the party has done when they enter into the contract. If it is a considerable mistake which goes to the root of the contract can be cancelled. Otherwise, the contract is valid. That's the first thing that you have to remember. Then the second one, a mistake of So mistake of identity. Right, case is given here, the Ingram versus Little, 1961. What happened in this case? The two sisters, they own a car. They publish an advertisement. Publish an advertisement to sell the car. So then one person came and he introduced himself as a well-known businessman in England. So these two ladies, they believed that this is the well-known multimillionaire person, that he has come to purchase the vehicle. So they were under that impression. So what happened? He bought the car and he said that I will pay the value of the car by way of a check. So then these two ladies, they just investigated to see who this is, and still they were satisfied. They thought that this is the millionaire, that well-known millionaire. So they accepted the check. So they thought that a check of this millionaire will never get returned. So what happened actually? This is a rogue, not that millionaire. That rogue has pretended him as the millionaire and has given a dud check, a forged check. Check got returned, and the rogue now has taken the vehicle. The question is now whether there is a contract, right? There is a contract. Now under the contract, one party has performed the contract also. Duty of the contract, they have given their vehicle. The other party has paid the consideration by a check, but the check is a dud check or forged check. Now they filed action, and these two sisters, they want their car back. They want their car. So then for that they filed action. And what was the decision of the court? It was held there was no valid contract, and that the sisters could claim the car from the person to whom the rogue has sold it. So what has happened now? This person has taken the vehicle. He has sold the vehicle to another person, third party. So now the vehicle is with a third party. However, court was decided the contract between the rogue and these two sisters are not valid, null and void. If the contract is null and void, what will happen? Parties will put into the original position. That means that two sisters can get their vehicle back and the rogue can get his check. So then there's no title passed to the rogue. Then the rogue can't sell the property. So as per this case, two sisters managed to get their vehicle because of the mistake of the identity. So that is the mistake of identity. Then the other type of mistake is mistake as to the subject matter. So there can be there can be several type of mistakes. One is mistake of identity. The other one is B, the mistake of the subject matter. What is this? What do you mean by mistake of subject matter? In the event the parties believe the subject matter of the contract is in existence and in fact it is not existence at the time of the contract, then there is no contract. Now, for example, we say, I will give you a simple example. We say, just assume that I have boats. Right? I say I have two boats. Right? I have a boat. We say, forget about two boats. I have a boat or ship. Right? Now ship is in the sea. We say now the ship, my ship. Now we say Atlantic Ocean. I am here. I want to sell the ship or vessel. So I enter into a contract with somebody, right, to sell the vessel or the ship. I am the seller, and the purchaser purchased the vessel. At the time we enter into the contract, we didn't see the vessel because the vessel is not in front of us. It is in somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Both myself and the buyer, the seller and the buyer, believe the vessel is in Atlantic Ocean. Believing so, parties enter into a contract, right? We sign papers, and I say you are today, from tomorrow onwards, you are the owner, so you pay me the price and you pay me the money. And after signing the contract, right, we get to know that the vessel is no more. It is sunk, right? Destroyed. Vessel is destroyed. Vessel is no more. Now what is the situation? Right? Under the contract, now I have to hand over the vessel to the buyer. But at the time of we signing the contract, though we thought that the contract, the vessel is there, actually the vessel is not there, not existence. In a situation like that, what we can do, right? What we can do is the parties can put into the previous position. That means I will resign from the contract, or contract will cancel, and I have to return the money to the buyer because the subject matter was not in existence at the time that we enter into the contract. That there is another example that I have given here, that is section 7 of the Sales of Good Ordinance says, where there is a contract for the sale of specific goods and the goods without the knowledge of the seller have perished at the time when the contract is made, the contract is void. What does it mean? It means, now you know, in international trade, the trades or the agreement selling of items occurs while the goods in sea. In the sea means it is in the ship. The seller sell the goods while the sale, it is traveling or transporting one place to other place. What will happen some reason, if these goods get destroyed, then situation is section 7 of the sales of good ordinance says the contract is void. Void means contract is not existence. Contract is cancelled. So then what is the situation? The seller has to return the money to the buyer. So buyer and the parties will put into the original position. That is mistake of subject matter of a contract. Right. Any questions from mistake? Any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then I'll go to the misrepresentation. Misrepresentation, singular word for this is avanideshanaya. 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 Right? Misrepresentation is avanideshan. What do you mean by misrepresentation? Right? Just think about a situation when you enter into a contract. Before you enter into a contract, take a simple example. You want to purchase a car. Right? Before you purchase the car, you meet the seller and you discuss certain things. You exchange information. You ask questions about the vehicle, the quality of the vehicle, year of manufacture. Likewise, you get information, you request information from the seller, and the seller provide information. Before we enter into the real contract, parties exchange statements of facts, right, with regard to the contract or with relevant to the contract. So those statements are called representations. Nideshana, representation. We represent certain things. We say this vehicle is a very good vehicle. This is manufactured in Japan. We say this is one of the best cars in this category. Likewise, we make statements of facts. Those facts are called representations. Now, think these facts that we provide, some of those facts are correct. Some of the facts are correct. Some facts are not correct. Some facts or some statement that we made are not correct. If the statement is incorrect statement, such statements we say misrepresentation. Statement, for the statement is another word. The word is representations. If the representation is wrong, then we call it misrepresentation. Example, we say, I'm selling a vehicle. So when there is a buyer, he asks what is the year of manufacture. So I say this is manufactured in 2017. That is my representation or my answer, my statement to the buyer. Actually, the vehicle has manufactured in 2015, not 17. So I have made a representation, I have made a statement, and I have said the car is manufactured in 2017. That is the statement I made. Now, what is the is that statement correct? Statement is wrong. My statement is wrong because the vehicle is manufactured in 2015. So therefore, my representation, my statement, my representation is wrong statement or wrong representation. So the legal word we use for wrong statement is misrepresentation. Misrepresentation. So I have made a misrepresentation to the buyer to induce him to enter into the contract or I have made a wrong statement to him to enter into the contract, influence him to enter into the contract. So that is called misrepresentation. So there are three types of misrepresentations. Those are innocent misrepresentation, fraudulent misrepresentation, and negligent misrepresentation. Those are the three types of misrepresentations which can cancel the or vitiate the contract. So I think the time is out. Now 3:05. Right. From there onwards, we'll start next week. If you have any questions from the last topic, last lesson, you have 5 minutes now. You can answer those. Sorry, I can answer those questions. You can put those questions to me. If you have any questions, can you hear me, please? Everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you can ask now. Or otherwise, we are going to wrap up now. So no questions?
Sir, I have a question.
So I will send the next. Yes, please. First tell your name, then ask your question. What is your name, please? I can't hear. Yeah, you can ask your question. Anyone has any question? Okay, if you don't have any questions, then I will stop at this point. So then we'll have our next lesson at the same time next Saturday, 1 o'clock.